I wish I had learned this truth many years ago. Be thankful for the days, good and bad.
All right, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie in episode 18, and I've got an incredible warrior here, Rick Rawson, who I'll talk to you about in just a second. But for those of you who haven't joined us before on Warrior versus Zombie, or if you've joined us and forgot about what we're all about, basically we're about warriors and the things they overcome. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. In each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life, entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, really any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future. And today's guest is no exception. Rick Rawson is an amazing warrior. He's a CEO, a marketer, a networker, a servant leader. He started his 38-year journey in Wisconsin and finally made it to Texas in 1980 as a young and upcoming chef. He had a 16-year career as an executive chef for different hotels and country clubs, and then moved and owned a restaurant in Allen, Texas called the Texas Grill for 3 years. That experience introduced him to the entrepreneurism and also helped him learn about the zombies that entrepreneurs encounter. I'll let him talk about that at his level of comfort there. Then he was in management of a large auto dealerships for about 15 years, where he learned marketing through internet sales and advertising. And 5 years ago, after refining his marketing skills, Rick transitioned into founder and CEO of his own business, Expanse, which is a multi-platform marketing company collaborating with other marketing companies to offer a full array of marketing services. Rick Rawson, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie.
Hey, it's really good to be here, David. And hey, congratulations on your show, and I'm sure it's going to continue to grow. It sounds great. Love it, and we'll cover as much as you want to cover. I'm an open book. Whatever you want to ask, I'll answer.
All right. Well, I'm first going to ask you, how are you doing in this crazy times? I think all the warriors that listen to this podcast are always interested to hear how other warriors are doing in these times and what kinds of things they're dealing with and thinking about and all that stuff.
Well, let's see. Now you're about 2-3 feet away from your screen, and I'm about 2 feet away from my screen, right? Okay, that's not within the 6-foot rule, so we better back off. So, anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, it's mask time. As far as I'm doing, I've taken a hit. The COVID thing basically hit me as far as like it's hit many other businesses. But all in all, again, struggling, but getting through it and coming out on top. The key word that they use these days is pivoting, right? So I've pivoted on a couple things, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Other than that, life is good. The family's good. Things are going good.
That's awesome. And a lot of people don't understand. I played basketball in high school, and I don't think I've ever shared this with the audience, but the term that they use in pivot is kind of like quarantine in this whole context of this thing. They're misusing the language because I don't really like the term pivot, because really most people think that means I did something else or I'm doing something else or whatever, but actually the vision and the direction only changes a little bit. You're just moving around your obstacle in the way, right? And you keep going. And so unfortunately, sometimes some of the things that we did in the past aren't going to be there in the future. So that's an interesting challenge. But that's one of the things I really enjoy. I love this podcast because I get a chance to talk to warriors, and they all kind of view it the way you do, which is basically, yeah, this kind of sucks, there's some things that I wish hadn't stopped, but there's a lot of opportunities that have opened up, and I'm doing as many of those as I can. And I think I'm sure you're, from what I can see, I think you're a lot like me. You're probably busier now than you were before the shutdown. I mean, you're not sitting home Netflixing and chilling. You're working harder probably now than you were filling in the gaps, right?
Well, but yes. As a matter of fact, the reason we are working harder is because these tools, like the Zoom, make it where you can actually stack meetings on top of each other rather than factoring in drive time, 20 minutes here, 25 minutes there, a half hour, so you're able to meet and be at many different places. Maybe it's not all that good. So we actually are working harder than we were before. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing because it's not unlike when I was in the corporate world and I was able to start work. I was traveling a lot, but then when I was working from back in Dallas, I could usually work from home, and it's that boundary thing, right? You have to learn that this new tool makes things easier to do back to back, but you still need to put boundaries in there to where you're not overtaxing your own ability to be effective, because I get Zoom fatigue. I don't know if you've gotten it, but
oh yeah, matter of fact, the boundaries, and that's part of the COVID thing, basically made a lot of us not go to meetings or have face-to-face one-on-ones. So what are you going to do with that time? And so part of that, I have gotten more into working out. So I've actually been able to take a segment of my time and go either walking or biking. So again, it's a little bit of taking advantage of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and actually that's beautiful and brilliant all at the same time, because the reality of it is, instead of running from the virus, we ought to be running to improve our health, or walking, or looking at our diet. Because one of my guests, I think in episode 5, Dr. Renee Moore, was talking about the fact that this is really a lifestyle virus. The people that are impacted the most, that really have any kind of risk of mortality or anything else, are the people who have chronic disease, chronic illness. Their diet isn't great, their lifestyle isn't great, and that kind of thing. So if you're can't figure out what to do during this time, getting healthier is a kind of a brilliant strategy.
It is, and I agree with you, because it is a matter of taking advantage of the change. And part of it was, when they shut everything down, I have my grandson that lives with us, and and I was able to spend time with him, stroller walks and everything, and that's been a blessing. So that's, if you cannot, during that time frame where you were shut down, seriously shelter in place, if you didn't take advantage of honing your skills or learning new skills, you are missing the boat. Because if you're like one of those Netflix bingers, sorry, that's not the way to use your time.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to make you better off when we emerge and try to thrive out of this. So yeah, I've been focusing on learning, education, doing more, and just figuring out how to do it maybe differently. So for sure. So this has been a good check-in. I think what we're going to do at this point is we're going to land the plane for this first segment. And when we come back, just to get you ready, Rick, I want to hear your story. I want to hear kind of what you want to share with us about how you started and how you got to here, and anything that got in your way as we go. So with that, we're going to end this segment of Warrior versus Zombie with Rick Rawson and hear a little bit of Ricky Jean Wright, and It's Not the Getting There.
But the miles become the teacher while the student learns real slow, traveling blind most of the time. Wherever you go, it's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race.
All right, we're back with Warrior versus Zombie, and that was a great check-in with Rick Rawson, and a lot of things we've already learned and heard and thought about in that segment, but I really am looking forward to have Rick share with us his story, how he got to be where he's at today. So, Rick, take it away.
Well, it's sort of interesting a little bit. I mean, let's go back. I mean, again, my story covers three things. I was an executive chef for about 16 years. I was in the car business in management for about 15 years, and now 5 years in marketing. But before I became a chef, I'm from Wisconsin, okay? And grew up in Wisconsin, born and raised there, big-time Green Bay Packer fan. Sorry, Cowboys. But the point is, I was actually intending to be an architect, but I was terrible in math. So when it came to enrolling in college, I couldn't go towards architecture. So at the last minute, I changed everything to culinary arts. And so I've decided a path as an executive chef was for me. But Milwaukee wasn't growing very much. So I came down to Dallas. And people would say to me, Dallas, it's way too hot. I said, you know what, 100 degrees, I don't care how many days of 100 degrees you have. Sometime in the morning, sometime in the evening, it's pleasant, you can go outside. When it's 5 below zero, you can't go outside and there is no time to have a good time. So enough of that. I came down here in a Grand Prix, 76 Grand Prix, and had a big long scratch on the roof of the car, the roof. People would ask me, how do you get a scratch on the roof of a car? Went too deep with the snow shovel. So not like it snows 6 feet, but they'll plow you under 6 feet up there. So that's what brought me down here. Had some great times. I was at the Hyatt, the Fairmont, the Willow Bend Polo and Hunt Club, all of those kind of things. As a chef of different restaurants, hotels, and everything. I always liked leading a group of people, so I was always over and a leader in some form or fashion. Then, you know, just like most chefs, you have the dream of opening up a restaurant, right? I did. That dream became a nightmare. So, it's like one of those things. It's, you know, you bite off more than you can chew financially, it'll happen. So I'm glad it's out of my blood, but enjoyed a lot of things. And it was right here in Allen, the Texas Grill. And that was before all the restaurants were booming. We were only the second restaurant in Allen that served any kind of beer and wine of any kind. So I did a lot of catered events for the hotels that I worked at, ice carvings. I did special events for Bob Hope, Reagan. I remember Reagan coming down to the hotel and they walk him through the kitchen, right? Well, before he comes through, they bring in all the bomb sniffing dogs. Okay, we have all the meat out on the tables, right? It's like they're well trained. They don't go to the meat. So, but here's the other thing. If you know who Ronald Reagan is and know how tall he is, he's like 6'6" or something like that. All of his security guards are like 6'1" or 6. It's like there's a headshot just waiting to happen. So, but anyways. So that's a little bit about my culinary history. Eventually decided to get out of that. And had a lot, like I said, a lot of ups and downs in that. The final straw was when I went to a corporate office with Bennigan's and Steak and Ale, and I was in their research and development department. That corporate life wasn't for me. So I moved on, went into car sales. You say, wow, you know, car sales, you were a chef, now you're in car sales? Hey, you better move it the other way. Because the financial rewards from the car sales far outweighed whatever a culinary field did. So that's where I stayed and had about a 15, 16-year run. Met some great guys. We had we did an annual men's Christian retreat. Go figure, right? Car sales guys, Christian retreat. Not exactly what you would think of, but these were great guys, and they were really, really, you know, something else, you know, so definitely. As far as I moved around a lot. And people would say, well, you moved around. Why didn't you stay? If I look back in my history at the hotels and such, they're not even in existence anymore. Willow Bend Polo and Hunt Club is gone. I was executive chef there. How many hotels do you know that they change names over and over and over? Well, when that happens, they change staff, the head staff, not the cooks, not the waitresses, not the housekeepers. They change the leaders. That is one of the reasons why you do need to be able to cover yourself with your own skills, which is eventually what I decided to do. So being an entrepreneur, having control over your own destiny, that is part of what this is all about. So some of the other setbacks. Well, let's talk about that. How about some physical setbacks? When I was in the car business, had bypass surgery, okay, about 7 or 8 years ago. So that basically, and that was when they used to do the full, the whole bit. So I went through that. Would not recommend it for anybody. So that was the closest thing to death there, almost. And but came through that. So when we're talking COVID right now, okay, let's talk about that. David, you mentioned about higher risk, age, and so on and so forth. So let's see. I'm still overweight, borderline diabetic, heart disease, bypass, and I ended up getting COVID. My wife had it. Okay, so, and that was back into February and March. So my family, we were basically, what's the word I'm looking for? We were quarantined. And so that's when I started doing more of the walks in the park with nobody around, not even 100 yards within me. And I would take my grandson out. So all four of us, my wife, myself, my daughter, and my grandson, were all supposedly COVID cases. So that's sort of what we went through. And so does it get much more high risk than what I just mentioned for myself? But I was determined not to live my life in fear. Okay. We all survived. We all got better. I was only sick for a couple of days. My wife, though, was 5 or 6 weeks sick. So I'm not trying to trivialize anything because the deaths are real that are out there. But here's my point. If you are going to shelter in place, because we have two responsibilities as leading our families. One, we want to make sure that we keep them safe from anything, whether it's COVID or violence or anything else. Our responsibility is to keep our families safe. But we also have a responsibility to provide. So you can't just hide under your bed, hide under your blanket, and wait for somebody to just bring you things. You have to earn them. You have to have a living. And that's where I take my stance about not being afraid, and I get out there. I'm safe about it. Okay, even here on the podcast, I'll wear my mask because you never know. I mean, we're not 6 feet apart. So just, it is what it is. I don't know, David, you got any questions as far as anything you'd like me to answer there? Because there's a lot of other things I could say. For example, like I had 5 years ago, my Achilles. So totally, there's another, zombie moment. So I've had the demons that have come up on me.
Well, the amazing thing is, and I find this consistent, all the warriors that are fighting the zombies, you've obviously had your share. And even in the current situation, you've had some challenges. And the thing that never ceases to fascinate me and encourage me, and I think the people who listen to this podcast, is the fact that you didn't let any of those you lost your business when you started the business. That has to be frustrating. You've had health challenges, obviously bypass surgery and those kinds of things. Nothing to take lightly. And for sure, this virus is definitely not something just to thumb your nose at. On the other hand, as you pointed out, which I think is extremely warrior-esque, if you will, which is we can't hide from the virus. We can't hide from the challenges, and we need to find a way through it so we can not only stay safe, but also keep others safe and provide for our families at the same time, which has got to be a big challenge. I know you work in your marketing area, and we'll talk about that in the next segment about with businesses and stuff like that. And I think in that area, there's a lot of opportunity for you to help. Your story is incredible. I'm sure there are some other challenges you could share if we had more time. But I want to save time and make sure in this third segment that we have time to hear about, more about what you're doing today, why you're now doing this, since you did the chef thing, and then you did the car thing, and now you're in marketing, and all of those things I think have a common thread, and I want you to kind of tie us back to that in this next segment in terms of, because I think they all kind of probably tie back to your why and some of the things that I still see you doing, like building community, building networks, helping businesses and people be successful. So with that, I'm gonna let's do this. I'm not going to ask you any more questions. You've pretty well laid it out there for us right now in terms of your story, and I want to then come back in the next segment and talk about where you are and all that good stuff after we hear a little bit from Ricky Jean Wright.
Not
and
a
it's not
race
to get
to
there.
see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know. Funny how wisdom and youth.
All right, welcome back to Warrior versus Zombie, and we've got through the check-in and heard Rick's story, and he's definitely battled some zombies along here, and I'm sure there's more on the horizon, but I really want to hear, Rick, about where you're at today, why you're doing what you're doing still, or maybe you're going to do something more or different. I don't know, whatever you want to share. And then, the value you still see yourself providing. You are one of these people that I know you serve your community, you serve your networks, you serve the clients that you have. So about that, and then if anything were possible, where would this all lead?
Well, okay. Well, where I'm at, let's just take a quick recap of the Expanse, which is my company called Expanse LLC, not Expanse, the sci-fi show, because if you just put in Expanse, that's where you'll go. So Expanse LLC. But here's the point. I started Expanse 5 years ago in September, and it was basically designed as a platform from Social 5, which is a national social media management company. It turned out that they're fairly expensive. And so what had happened was for me to offer social media management, it's 150 sign up, 250 a month, all the way up to 1,200 a month. In my circles, and I think Dave could probably confirm here, we don't have very many people that are in that kind of realm of what they can afford. So I came up with a new concept. And so using the social media, I created what we call Power Group Networking. And so rather than representing an individual business by itself, I bring them together in a group, such as health, beauty, and fitness, which would be like chiropractor, physical therapist, personal trainer, weight loss, all of them. We put that on the health, beauty, and fitness page, and now we promote them through that page jointly. So now through the cross-reference of followers and the followers of the followers through boosting, we reach more people. Worked so good with health, beauty, and fitness, we created home services and contractors. So now you got the realtor, right? And the mortgage lender and the plumber and the remodeler and the flooring guy, all of them in one group. So now when we bring their messages down there and they're cross-referencing, right? Sort of like what we do, we go to our networking meetings, right? And the typical networking meeting, you got 30, 40 people there are members of it or whatever that participate. How many can you talk to? Especially in the Zoom right now. You really don't get to talk to them very much. But the intention is this. You set up like, I set up here and I talk to Dave. We set up a one-on-one. We go somewhere. We get to meet each other. The intention is I meet you, you meet me. You get to know a little bit about me. You pass it on to somebody that you know. Okay, and vice versa. Well, with our power group, bottom line is I meet you, you meet me. Now we're in the group together. I automatically go past you, and my message reaches a portion of your followers, and vice versa. So you're able to use today's technology to expand your reach. Okay, so that's one of the main things, and keep that in mind. Because I'm going to come back to that at the end. Power group networking. That's one of the platforms. Then I have a marketing team. Okay, so we're going to do SEO, website design, videographies, whiteboard animations, all of those kind of things. Text marketing. So we have a text marketing campaign, email campaigns, landing pages. All of that is part of another thing. Last 2 years, we would do a trade show, an entrepreneur and trade show, an expo. So we would have our members and others come together and show their wares. So that was another thing that we would do. Unfortunately, under COVID, we can't do that. So bottom line is that for this year, we may do it towards the end of the year. Right now, that has been cut out. Gives you just an example. And now we do event planning for our businesses. We do open panel discussions where we'll bring in 3 panelists on a discussion and be the presenter at a networking group, such as we'll do home buying and selling workshop. So we'll have the mortgage lender, the realtor, and a credit repair person all be the presenters at one time, okay, because they all intertwine. Then we'll do a health and wellness presentation. So now we're going to have a personal trainer, weight loss, nutrition, all of them, they're going to be on there. So that just gives you a couple ideas. I've got a couple things coming up very shortly. I'll walk with me, talk with me, and meet the trainer session. That's coming up in a couple weeks, date to be determined, where we're going to have 3 or 4 of our trainers, our personal trainers and coaches, and we're going to invite the public into a park, and we're going to walk with them, and you're going to be side by side, or from whatever, keeping your distance apart, and basically you're going to be able to ask questions, health-related questions, fitness-related questions, right there while we do a 30 to 40-minute walk. So we're going to do like a 5-minute warm-up session, 30 to 40-minute walk, and then we're going to have a nutritional rehydrated drink that somebody will sponsor. So afterwards. So that's coming up soon. So those are some of the kind of events that I do for my members. So, David, what do you think? What do you think about some of those ideas?
The ideas are all great, and I love it. One of the things that anybody that's listening here could take away is Rick's always thinking and coming up with new and creative ways to get us together, build networks, and also get our message out. But let me ask you, so why do you do this? What is it that really, I mean, you're very passionate about it. I can see that. And I'm assuming, but what is it that really keeps you, that inner inspiration that you have? Why are you doing this?
You know, the funny thing is, I never envisioned myself the face of something like this. And this goes back to when I was a kid. You know, back when I was a kid, I was one of the smallest kids in my class, youngest and smallest in my class back then. But my brother, who was 2 years younger than me, and his friends, those are the ones I hung out with because I was their size. But because I was a year or two older, it naturally led to a little bit of a leadership role from a kid all the way up. So I was always the one that got us into trouble or got us out of trouble back then. And but when it came down to, as a chef, I wasn't a cook. I mean, I was a cook that eventually very quickly became an executive chef. Why? I had those leadership qualities already instilled in me. The same thing when I went into the car business. Bottom line, I enjoy being a leader. So I was a new car director, a used car director, an internet director. All of that was part of it. So I was only actually a salesperson for a couple years, 2 or 3 years out of the 15. Otherwise, I was leading. So when it came into marketing, I was a leader in the marketing and the car sales. I enjoy leading. I'm not a socialite by any means, but I've had to learn to get out. Because one other little thing about my past, I'm sort of an intellect as far as I was a number 1 chess player back in the high school in the state of Wisconsin. So I was always overthinking some things, but I always enjoyed people. Not being the life of the party, but putting together people. I was the person that organized the softball teams. I was the person, all of that. I was the one that got the neighborhoods together. Yours 8 guys against our 8 guys kind of thing. So that's part of my makeup.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the desire, the need, the leadership aspect of that taking, and also the fact that as through your journey that I hear is that each of those quickly became into a leadership role, and that's evidenced by what you did, but also just I'm sure that's really what inspires you is you tend to gravitate towards things. And leadership isn't just management, although you were saying you organize and manage, but really leadership is having that creative vision, your chess playing and stuff. I mean, chess is a very strategic game, right? I mean, you got to be thinking multiple moves into the future. And so a lot of people don't necessarily process that way, and they need people like you to help them think through, okay, if I do this and it goes to this and then this, and then being able to lead them one step at a time, right?
So as far as when it comes to Expanse and sort of like what people, you asked me as far as why do I do what I do and such. Again, part of it goes back to Social 5 and realizing that marketing can be very expensive. Hey, when I had my own restaurant, I realized how expensive marketing was. Okay. But so my intention with this power group, instead of charging people, $200, $300, $500, people can get into a marketing starting at $75. And a portion that goes straight to Facebook boosting on your behalf through the group page, which, and then you can scale it up. This is totally very scalable. So you can take the $75 to $150 to $300. We're reaching as far as I'm boosting, we're reaching about 100 people per dollar. Go figure that out a second. Now, again, it's going to vary depending on the content that we're boosting. But more importantly is this. We are getting about a 13 to 15% engagement rate on the people we reach. That's huge. The national average for Facebook, if you look it up, just don't take my word for it. Go look up what is the benchmark for Facebook engagement. 1 to 2%. We're at 13 to 15. So when you're looking at wanting to reach more people and get them engaged with what is really going on in your business, that's the way to do it. During this COVID thing, okay, I'll use restaurants as an example. There's 2 things that restaurants do when they have a downturn in business. 1, they cut staff. Okay, unfortunately, that's true. But 2, they cut marketing. Okay, here's the point. Now they're going to run specials and promotions and other things. What good is it if nobody knows about it? So the marketing is one of the last things that you should be cutting. Cut your own expenses, but you got to be able to get the message out. Whichever platform you want to choose, through our power groups, through our text messaging, through our email campaigns, doesn't matter. We'll put a package together for you. As I said, I'm trying to reach the mom and pop type of restaurants and businesses. Those that can't, I'm not an Angie's List. I'm a lot cheaper and affordable for that plumber, the electrician, to use me to promote their business. That's what we do. Now, I'm going to save this for the final segment here for you there, Dave, because I've got a big announcement coming up. And it's happening this Friday, by the way. But I'll save that, because part of what you want to ask me is, where are we going from here?
All right. Well, let's put a pin in it for this segment, and I'm excited to hear about the big announcement coming up this Friday, and also want to hear in the next segment, in the final segment, what I call the land the plane segment. Is I want to hear kind of, if anything, we take away anything from this podcast, from our time with you today, what couple, 3 things would you want us to take away, those warriors here that are listening to you? And then I want to also understand how we stay in touch with you going forward. And then we'll call it a podcast. All right?
Funny how wisdom and youth are always 2 different games. The years flew by so fast, is the common human complaint. The memories in our minds turn to diamonds in our soul, and by the grace of God.
All right, we're back with the 4th and land the plane segment of Warrior versus Zombie here with Rick Rawson. And I hope you enjoyed that little bit of Ricky Jean Wright before we came here. But Rick, you know what I'm looking for here is, if we take away anything from this podcast, what would you want the Warriors listening to take away? And then we'll talk about how do we get in touch with you.
Okay, well, a couple things. Here's the point. I'm not trying to represent franchises or big companies. I'm trying to help the little guy. And the point being is, the small business owner, they sometimes feel alone, okay? And you don't have to feel alone. You can reach out to me, and I will consult with you for free, okay? I will offer suggestions to you. It's up to you whether you want them, but it's free. That's the whole idea. Bottom line is helping those who sometimes feel lost or overwhelmed. And that's what I want to do. That's the biggest takeaway out of this. Now, here's the other thing. Where am I going with this? Okay. This Friday, I am signing up with ISM. And I'm not even sure what ISM stands for, but bottom line, it's the America's Real Deal. And bottom line is, we are taking, and we're going to be getting investors into Expanse and taking it to a much larger platform. And there will be an investment event that'll be towards the tail end of September. So you will have the opportunity to be part of Expanse as we take our power group concepts to the Riverwalk of San Antonio, downtown Austin, the restaurants and businesses of Houston. We are going to be taking this to a large scale. So when we're talking about these power groups, a power group is a group of businesses either by a common demographic, like Allen Historic Downtown Businesses right here, or a common interest like health, beauty, and fitness, home services and contractors. We are going to be bringing in all the tools, all the people. So there'll be opportunities for entrepreneurs and for staffing. Now, what do you think about that?
I think that's pretty fascinating. I'm going to be interested to see how all that plays out. And I know that with your journey so far, I'm sure it's going to be successful. And like I said, I'm not sure what ISM is either, but America's Real Deal, I've heard of that, or whatever you call it. So that's pretty exciting. So, well, let me ask you this, Rick. Other than this Friday, because we may be listening to this after this Friday or sometime in the future, how is it that was best for us to stay connected with you or reach out to you after this podcast? What would you have us to do?
Well, the best way is, I'm going to give 2 ways. My website is Expanse, EXPANSE, social5.com. That would be one way. And the other one is just the quickest and easiest way, because we don't always update websites on a regular basis, but we update our Facebook pages all the time. And so the Expanse LLC Facebook page, follow it, like it, comment, message me through it, doesn't matter. And you will be able to, through that, you'll see other things, because we have the Family-Owned Restaurants of Allen page, the Allen Historic Downtown Businesses, Home Services and Contractors, Health, Beauty, and Fitness. We have 8 group pages and growing. So if you want to find out more information, check into those 2 things. And again, to participate and be a member is free. It's the services that you actually pay for.
That sounds pretty good deal to me. Free is always good. And so reach out to Expanse LLC Facebook page. Sounds like the best strategy for that, although, the website, I'm sure you can find the website when you go there as well. So for sure, reach out to him. Stay tuned as we go forward from here to hear about his big announcement and things going on Friday and beyond. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And Rick, I want to thank you. Thank you very, very much. It's been a great journey. I'm looking forward to sharing this episode with our audience. And again, I appreciate you and your journey. And I'm looking forward to staying connected and serving each other as we do going down the road. So with that, I'm going to end this Warrior versus Zombie episode with Rick Rawson with the last segment of hearing Ricky Jean Wright, and it's not the getting there.
It's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know.